Greetings, kindred. Happy new moon to you all. And it looks like it's going to be a very productive one, actually. So we just come out the Lionsgate portal. I hope it all went well for you all. And yeah, it was pretty intense throughout the Lionsgate, but I just feel this new moon is bringing in a new energy overall, even though, things still seem pretty intense and pretty dark. So anyway, let's just get into it. So the new moon will begin on the 16th of August 2023 at 10:38 in the GMT time zone, at 5:38 in the EDT time zone, and at 19:38 in the AEDT time zone. So as our new moon begins, it will be at 4 degrees in Leo. Leo's been quite an active energy, active throughout the Lionsgate. The sun moved into Leo on the 11th. And yeah, there's quite a lot of planets, going on in Leo. So we have a little stellium here since Venus has just entered, or just retrograded actually, back into Leo at 0 degrees. So again, this is the void, the stillness, where we integrate, and in retrograde, it's normally about the past. The moon is always conjunct the sun at a new moon, but we also have the black moon Lilith conjunct in Leo at 5 degrees. Now, this is where the shadow energy is going to be really strong, but I feel it's more on an individual level now, more than a collective. I feel, there has been this dark energy hanging over the collective globally for quite some time, but I feel now this is all coming back to the south, all coming back to the heart chakra. So, maybe individually we're coming to terms with things because, the sun and moon at 4 degrees. Now, 4 is the number of the sun, but more in its formative aspect, not in its creative. So, this is a great time where we can transform things, but more in a realistic way, since number 4 represents reality. It's the square, and, it has 4 corners. And talking of 4 corners, we still have this ground cross going on. We're going to get into that in a minute, because I feel this is very much connected to this ground cross as well, because where this has been ongoing for quite a while. I mean, it did turn into a T-square, or it will at some point. I think we've passed that now, though, to be honest. Yeah, I can't remember if it was in my Mercury Retrograde article or in my Lionsgate portal video that I did, where it turned into a T-square. But anyway, right now, we do have this ground cross with Juno at this corner. Now, Juno is slower moving. It's a slower moving body in our skies. So, she could be there for quite a while. So back to this moon. Now, the black moon is at 5 degrees in Leo. Now, when the black moon Lilith is in Leo, it's all about ego, our eccentricity, our stubbornness, our inability to move, or not wanting to move, wanting to sort of stay where we're at, And but 5 is quite productive and shifting. So I really do feel, especially with this Juno-Pluto opposition, that we are really taking a good look at ourselves, taking a good look at how true we are being to ourselves, especially with this aspect with Mercury in quincunx to Chiron here, or both Mercury and Mars. Because this quincunx to me is saying, is the story we're telling, is it truly coming from who we are, or is it coming from our wounds from the past? So I really do feel this is a healing time where we really do need to come into our self-power, especially with the goddess Juno at 1 degree in the sign of Cancer. Now, 1 is also the number of the sun, but in its creative. And, Cancer is very creative. Cancer is a water sign. All water signs are pretty creative in different ways. And, but with the Cancer energy, it's more about wisdom and, claiming that independence. So we do know in the sign of Cancer, it's like, wow, we really need to come into our self-security, come into wholeness with the number 1 as well. Come into wholeness with our spiritual gifts or our spiritual values, or even our creative gifts and our creative values. See, the sun at 4 degrees in its formative energy, this is more the accountant rather than the artist. So, but even an artist will need to count his money or count, or even just count in general, how many pieces of work does he have at hand, So I just feel this is production in like a financial way, or selling oneself out there, but we have to be authentic. We have to be authentic, I should say, authentic. I don't know where I got that from. But yeah, we need to do that from an authentic standpoint. We really need to come into wholeness within ourselves and empower ourselves. And if we do have those wounds from the past, more often than not, we're blind to our wounds, especially when the Black Moon Lilith is involved, because she is the shadow, she is the hidden, or she represents the hidden. But it's also about hidden gifts. So if we're able to come into wholeness within ourselves, and, like I said at the Lionsgate portal, deal with all the rubbish we've stuffed in that treasure box, all our worries, all our, misconducts, or whatever it is, whatever darkness has been shoved into that box to deal with at a later date. If we're dealing with that now, we're doing the right thing, because we're very close at reaching the bottom, to the light of hope, to all the little gifts and the treasures. We've all got something to offer in this world, in the way of healing, in the way of nurturing, or even just being a listening ear. Or, we all have a talent, a natural talent, not necessarily in any particular industry, but just in our humanity. So I feel that's what this new moon is giving us an opportunity for. The only problems I see here with Saturn in trine to the South Node, and with Neptune in quincunx to the South Node, it's like we can be stuck in the past, because, like I said, trines are an easy flow. They're not necessarily good, because sometimes it can make us lazy, or, the energies flow so easily that we can kind of like not be in a realistic place, do you know what I mean? Or taking things for granted. So with Saturn at 6 degrees retrograde in Aquarius, I would say this is definitely about the past. And it's definitely in the way of humanity, or on the road lines of, humanitarian values or traditions more so. And the South Node is what we're familiar with, what we know. But again, at 32 degrees, which breaks down to 5, again, there's a shift there. So there's a shift there where we're looking out to, maybe some of us are kind of feeling an urge to get out there and influence other people, or feel ready to go out if they're in spiritual work and do their spiritual practices among the many. And I think, yeah, this is a great time to do that, as long as we're in wholeness within ourselves. as long as we've done our own work first, because we can only teach what we know, and if we're not in wholeness, then we're not really in the right place to be, influencing other people. But again, there's a lot of guidance in this world to be had. And I always feel that things come onto your path at the right time. I don't feel we need to go looking for certain things. When it comes to the natural, I feel that it gets put on our path at the right time when the universe feels we're ready for it, or when the divine feels that we're ready for it. So I just feel there's, this great healing energy surrounding this new moon, and the moon and the sun are entwined to Chiron. So, that gives us good instincts, but it also makes us very sensitive. And again, if we're wounded, then that sensitivity can be quite smarting. But if we're in our wholeness, then we are ready, like I said, to go out there. And, some people heal through their art. I've seen artists draw these amazing pictures or paint these amazing pictures that tell a story. And a lot of people will resonate with that. And there's a healing energy to that image that the artist has drawn. Because I feel any form of creativity or art comes from the soul. And the soul is a very healing energy. And again, I just feel this wonderful, beautiful healing energy around this new moon. Although there is still darkness there, although there is still like egos flying about, there is a lot of ego flying around and even a lot of narcissism. But I feel if we're coming into our self-power, if we're doing our healing work and concentrating more on the self at this time, or empowering the self, or regenerating the self, I feel that is what this new moon is all about. Coming into wholeness within ourselves, whether we do that through prayer or meditation or, grounding techniques, whether it be, in exercise form or walking barefoot on grass or concrete, whatever grounds us and brings us into oneness within ourselves. I feel that will be very productive for this new moon. And, this ground cross here, it's kind of like, I feel it's like an ending of a cycle that's emerging out of this ground cross. But it is taking us away from our commitments or what we, our everyday living, our responsibilities, what we're dedicated to or what we're loyal to, whether that be our work, our family, or a project, whatever we're committed to right now. It's almost like Pluto's kind of transforming them, or taking it away from us. Do you know what I mean? And I feel that's more on a collective level, especially with the nodes involved. So I feel that's been ongoing, and I think anyone that's aware of what's going on in this world, in the economics right now, will really get that, So that's still a continuation that's going on there. But I feel throughout all this like pressure that we're under right now, I just feel there's all this stuff going on in the background that's working with people on more an individual level when it comes to self-empowerment and sorting out, insecurity issues or ego issues and, anything along those lines. It's about us coming into recognition. And Pluto can often act like the court martial. He's the one that will go and strip the soldiers of all their medals and their awards because of what's considered a misconduct. I just feel there is that energy going on right now as well. And I know even that in certain issues has already been occurring but I just feel around this new moon, it's going to be more relevant, especially here in England, because it's happening in the public house, the house of Sagittarius in the true lifetime sky. House number 11 is the public house. So ruled by Jupiter. And when we look at Jupiter at 15 degrees in Aries, this is wow. I just feel not so much with the behind the scenes people, but definitely the frontline people. The frontline people are kind of reaping. It's not so much a karma, although it's very similar to karma. It's more like the judgment of misdeeds. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like there's a lot of activity going on, and it could even be in the entertainment industry as well, with all these planets in Leo. So, we have this kite goat that's been ongoing as well, with Neptune at the top. And, Neptune is now also in sextile to Uranus, I think, since the last new moon. So this is really, with Neptune in sextile to Pluto, like I said, it's all about our social structures and what the work we've already been put in. It's very karmic. We're about to reap what we have sown with this energy when it comes to our social structures. And it is kind of pushing us towards like a higher consciousness, but that higher consciousness can be manipulated. But with Uranus now in force, I feel it's kind of outweighing the negative aspects of this Pluto-Neptune sextile, because there's positive and negative to everything. With this, we can, go a little bit wayward when it comes to science and technology. But I just feel that Uranus is at a strong point here. And 23 breaks down to 5, and Neptune is at 5. So again, productive and shifting. Aries is all about protecting the underdog. Even though he has issues sometimes around self-worth or self-value, he's more about, how people see him. Whereas Taurus used to be the ruler of the second house, and it was more about his material values, his sense of security. But Taurus is now the ruler of the third house, which is more about the inner child and what makes us feel secure on an inner level. Whereas Aries is the ruler of the second house of self-worth, all about how we see ourselves. We see ourselves through other people's eyes. So it's how other people are looking at us is how we take that on board ourselves. So again, I just feel we've got to come into this independent thinking. We've got to sort of come into our own authenticity and know that it's enough. We are enough as an individual. We are just as important than any other being on this planet. And that's how we have to see it. But not be the most important out there. This new moon is giving us an opportunity towards developing the unconditional love, developing that sense of equality, but also standing in our righteous power. So grounding techniques, self-empowerment tools, make the most of this new moon's energy, because I feel we can achieve a lot out of it. And whatever's going on in the world is still continuing anyway. But I think if we bring the focus to ourselves, then it gives our body, our soul, our mind, and our spirit that time to regenerate and refresh and come back, stronger and more in our self-power. So, Mercury does go retrograde on the 23rd. I have written an article for that, which I will link in the description box below this video. So please feel free to read the Mercury retrograde article if you haven't already. Anyway, sending all peace and much love. Take care.